Hello friends, my name is David, and I am your coach of the FC Popplio. I am here with week 2 of minors. I know week 3 of majors happened a little bit ago and you saw my game there, but now you get to see how my minors career ended. My second game, I played George week 1, and now I'm playing Mio or Miochi and the Oklahoma City Thundurus? Sure, let's go with that. I don't remember his team name. I'm sorry, Mio. But anyway, he's a good friend, and you can probably see my mic. Let's turn that. Perfect. Alright, so I'm going to pop up his team right now. As you can see, big threats include the Zygarde, the Aerodactyl, Torn is kind of annoying, Drapion's kind of annoying for Hoopa, and just all this sort of general stuff. So I'm just gonna run through this real quick, because you already see the meme right there at the top of the screen. We have Audino coming this week. At the time of doing this, I didn't know I was getting promoted, or like Seb gave no indication that he was leaving, so I'm not like building memes. This was a serious team. We have a no attacks Audino with red card, Trick Room, Encore, Healing Wish, and Normal Wish, Spadef for the Tapu Koko. It is my Trick Room Hyper Offense setter to let things like Gallade, Rotom, and Marowak sweep. Now, you may be wondering, why'd you say Rotom and Gallade? They're pretty fast and or not usually offensive. Well, we're getting to that. Red card is to let me deal with things that would otherwise like get in the way. Like if he has a threat that my sweepers can't really deal with, like a Zygarde, I switch this into Zygarde, I force it out, he goes into something that can't really deal with an Audino, and then I could Trick Room up and then Encore or Healing Wish into the threat. Encore, Trick Room plus Encore is really good, especially for mons like Volcarona and Zygarde, because I could Trick Room up on them, and if they attack me, they get red carded out into something else. Or if they set up, and like Volcarona tries to get cheeky and Quiver Dance on me as I go for a Trick Room, I then outspeed it next turn, regardless of what it did, because I'm an Audino, and I go for Encore, locking it into its sweeping move, letting me get a nice and easy switch into one of my threats. So that's Audino. Up next is the Choice Specs Rotom Wash. Pump, Volt Switch, Trick, Will-O-Wisp. Trick is very useful for things like Zygarde and for like his walls, just a whole bunch of other stuff. My mouse is here, cool. Yeah, just general stuff, hard hitting, max speed. It's my bird check, so it's gonna do real well at that. His only ground type is, I believe, the Zygarde and the Seismitoad. If Seismitoad doesn't come, this thing has a field day. Otherwise, it's going to be a little annoying. But I'm expecting Drapion over Seismitoad. If he's going to bring a defensive thing, it might be Toad or it might be Pharaoh. I don't think both are coming. Up next is Thick Glove Alolan. Very fat Lightning Rod, because I don't need Fliblets. The only thing that Fliblets really hits hard is Ferrothorn, or at least harder than like Shadow Bone, and Fire Punch Okos, or yeah, Fire Punch Okos or 2-hit KOs depending on if he's Aqua or not, so it doesn't really make a difference to me. Thunder Punch to abuse E-Terrain, Bone Meringue for Koko in case of Shukaberry, and Shadow Bone for General Stab, blah blah blah. This thing Okos everything after rocks except for the Zygarde and the Seismitoad. Up next is Scarf Shaman, because he's not going to expect Scarf Shaman, he's going to expect Defensive Shaman to deal with Zygarde. I'm answering Zygarde with an Offensive Shaman. I think it'll work great. Seed Flare, Healing Wish, Earth Power, HP Ice. Earth Power for Koko, HP Ice for Zygarde if it's like low, and I think I can kill through Yachi. And then Seed Flare for Stab, and Spadef drops, and Healing Wish, so then I have double Healing Wish with my offense. Alright, good. Moving on, Sash Chomp, Earthquake, Stealth Rock, Stone Edge, Draco. Draco is for Seismitoad. Earthquake plus Draco will kill it. Draco also hits Zygarde, especially if it's a coil set, and Focus Sash lets me get up my rocks. Mio's, from what I can tell, he doesn't really bring Taunt, so I'm not expecting Taunt Arrow or Taunt Torn, so that's why the Audino set is how it is, and why I'm not really acting like I'm afraid of Taunt at all. Yeah, just general stuff, max attack, max speed, whatever I need it to be. And last but not least is my Mega Glade. Max attack, adamant, max HP, enough speed. It's a brave nature, but it still has enough speed to outspeed uninvested Seismitoad and uninvested Drapion, I believe. So that's nice. Or yeah, I think. Yeah, I outspeed uninvested Drapion with this. I forgot. I was looking at it, it says 80, but it's actually 110 because it's a Mega Glade. It's an uninvested Drapion that I outspeed because I'd like him to... I want to be able to outspeed it outside of Trick Room, and then when I go for Trick Room, theoretically the Drapion shouldn't be there. Just standard stuff. Ice Punch for the Zygarde, Close Combat for Stab, and Stone Edge for all his birds. Now, Trick Room as a secondary setter, so then Audino isn't stuck in that role, because I've had situations in test games where I would run out of Trick Room turns and I would have my poor little Glade and my poor little Marowak left with nothing to really be able to like outspeed, so Trick Room was really nice. So that's that. We're gonna hide the team and hide the builder and go straight into the battle. It's a pretty great one. So up first we have our lovely team in front of us, and Mio decided to bring Zygarde, Koko, Torn T, Ferrothorn, Seismitoad, and Mega Arrow. Mega Arrow, I'm expecting Hone Claws, maybe 4 attacks, or 3 attacks Roost, or 3 attacks Defog. 2 attacks Defog is kind of nice. Probably Rocks Toad, Spikes Pharaoh, Life Orb, maybe Assault Vest Torn. I'm not expecting Taunt. Zygarde is maybe Banded, maybe Weakness Policy, maybe Coil. Rest Hawk Coil would be very annoying for my team, so as well as Weakness Policy DD would also be absolutely terrifying. Both of which I think are the most likely brings. Or did I say Rest Talk? I meant like Coil, just in general. If I didn't, then spoiler, he has a Rest Talk Zygarde that I find out in the game. Koko, I don't know what I'm expecting with it. Maybe Choiced. A lot of people brought Specs. Life Orb is very likely. I'm expecting some sort of mix set, because Brave Bird does a lot to my Marowak as opposed to HP Ground. Oh, the investment, by the way, lets me live 2 HP Grounds from, I think it's like Magnet Koko? It might be. No Volcarona is kind of surprising, and no Drapion is also very surprising, because looking at his team, the fact that he didn't bring basically anything for like Z Snatch or like Scarfed Hoopa was really surprising to me. I thought that was really weird. Like, I brought this sort of offensive HO like Trick Room team because I expected him to just out offense me, and instead he just brings a bunch of fat shit, and it really put me off. I didn't know how to respond to this, especially with how especially the double fat thing with Pharaoh Size Me. I didn't expect both of them to come. I wouldn't have been surprised if neither came, but certainly one of them would have. But let's just jump into it. I'm going to lead with my Garchomp as he leads with his Tornadus. I know this thing isn't going for HP Ice. Nobody clicks HP Ice turn 1, and even if he does, and he's Life Orb, I have a Sash, so I can very easily counteract this and just get off a super heavy hit. If he's hasty, he's probably dead. If he's Assault Vest, it does heavy damage, especially with Rough Skin. If he decides to switch out, for sure he's going into like Seismitoad or anything really. But I'm not maybe Coco expecting a dragon move, because a dragon move would do a lot here. Maybe an answer to Ice Fang would be kind of nice. I don't know. But I feel like I have no reason not to click Stone Edge here. As he does go for the taunt, he does decide to bring it this week, as I missed my Stone Edge, and I was very upset about this because it would have forced him into regenerating, and it would have put him really low. He would have probably been worst case scenario at 60% after the regenerator healing. Oh, sorry. And that would have just been really good for me. So he decides to U-turn and take some chip damage as I just click Stone Edge again, and he goes into a Seismitoad, and I miss again. Now this, at the time, I'm like whatever, but this ends up being really huge, and we will get to that. So it's pretty great. We're already going to our Glade. I'm gonna bluff the fact that I have Leaf Blade and just hard Ice Punch, as I expect him to go into Ferrothorn or into one of his birds to check the Leaf Blade, maybe even Zygarde, but he ends up staying in, and I guess that was aggressive. I don't know what the word is for what that was. It was interesting that he decided to just stay in on me and go for a Toxic when if I was like a subset, because a subset would have been really good. SD in general, just Leaf Blading this would have been great. I was really confused by that play. That seemed really unnecessary, especially when he needed Toad to sort of answer Rotom, to answer Marowak. I don't know, it just felt weird. Now, fearing the knockoff, I'm like, I guess I can go in. Fearing like anything, honestly. I'm just like, I'm gonna go into my Grass type, because I don't know what he's going to do, but he clearly wants to sack off his Seismitoad, as this turn he ends up going into his Ferrothorn, and I just look like a fool when, like, clearly I'm just confused. So, Ferrothorn comes in, so I switch right back into my Mega Glade, as he makes the good read, or some type of read. I don't know what because he could have been predicting my Shaman to stay in and, like, HP Fire, or maybe do something. Or maybe he did predict my Glade coming in. Either way, he makes a good play and he goes into his Tornadus, and now suddenly I'm on the back foot. And I'm like, well, this is just awful. This is just not going well. I can go into my Audino here, I can go into my Garchomp as a sack, or I can go into my Rotom, but if he knocks off, then I feel like I'm in a really bad spot. I forget what I end up deciding to do. I just go into my Garchomp expecting to just take a knockoff, as he just U-turns, regaining momentum, and letting him go into his Seismitoad. And I'm like, well, alright, I can live with this. I'm just going to get up my rocks now because I'm really tired of getting outplayed. And he reveals Icy Wind, and I'm just like, what is this? What is this thing? And I'm really glad I didn't go into Shaman, because, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I did that last time. The first time I went into Glade, I expected an Ice move. And then I see Rocks and Toxic. Whoops, sorry about that. The first time I expected an Ice move, like HP Ice, Ice Punch, Icy Wind, something like that. And my Glade's really slow, so it doesn't care about Icy Wind anyway. But I didn't expect, when he didn't go for it, I figured, alright, cool. So he might not have it, and he showed Toxic. So I figured Toxic, Rocks, Knockoff, and Water move or Ground move. It seems good. Answers my team, does really well. And he reveals Icy Wind here. I'm like, alright, so he doesn't have Stab? Maybe he doesn't have Knockoff? And yeah, so that's where we are. So he reveals the Icy Wind, and I'm like, well, this isn't great. I'm just going to fire off an Earthquake anyway. And he shows his last move being Earth Power. Alright, cool. We know where we stand. I go into my Rotom, and I'm like, alright, this thing's a problem now. I'm going to just trick it, as he goes into his Zygarde, and I'm like, oh, this is even better. I get to trick this, and I see that I obtain a Chesto Berry, and that immediately tells me, alright, he's Rest Talk, probably Coil, probably very bulky. So, I know I live 1,000 arrows, I believe. So I'm just going to go for a Will-O-Wisp, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I go for a Will-O-Wisp because he doesn't have a Fire type. It's just a really safe play. And he goes into Torn on my electric type, and I'm like, alright, well, let's... I'm either not reading the situation correctly in the game, or he's making weird plays. But, all things considered, he's just getting a ton of momentum on me, because he now U-turns out and goes into his Zygarde, as I believe I go for a Volt Switch. Yes, I go for a Volt Switch. So, he just looks like he's outplaying me. I know he's choice, so I'm going to Will-O-Wisp him, and I know I outspeed. I know I live this hit 100%. And now that he's burned, I can just go for a Hydro Pump. I figured that the Seismitoad could come in, but at this point I don't really care. Rotom's kind of done its job. And yeah, bear in mind that I was just so confused at getting completely tossed in my early turns that I completely forgot that I have double Healing Wish and that Rotom can come back and be an absolute menace to this guy's team once Seismitoad's down. But here we are. I Hydro Pump and I do a decent chunk. It's kind of a low roll, and I decide to sack off my Rotom for a couple reasons. One, if he predicted my Marowak and he had some sort of neutral coverage move, like he went for HP Rock to hit my Rotom decently, to hit my Rotom for 16 while still covering my Marowak, then I would have been completely screwed, because Rocks plus 2 hits of whatever he was would have probably killed me. Right, so, or some sort of move to hit Rotom plus a Brave Bird, I would be dead. Just Gleam into Brave Bird from a Life Orb Coco, I'd die. So, I figured instead of risking that, I'm just going to go into my Rotom. I'm just going to sack off my Rotom and hope for the best. Other play could have been going into Audino, but I didn't want to risk him like roosting? I don't know. No, Audino was probably my correct play, but I end up misplaying and I stay in when I know I have 2 Healing Wishes, but at the time I completely forgot. So in comes Audino this time, and I'm like, haha, I'm gonna set up some Trick Room. It'll be great. And I set up some Trick Room, and it was great. And I go for Healing Wish because I'm like, well, you know, a Stone Edge is gonna kill me. No ifs, ands, or buts. I'm gonna die to a Stone Edge here. I'm gonna die to any attacking move that this thing goes for. And he just Toxics, and I'm like, okay, here we are. So Gallade's inside with Adamant, Max Attack. Close Combat kills anything that comes in, except for this. Yeah, kills anything that comes in. So I just go for a Close Combat, I believe. Yep. Goodbye, Ferrothorn. Cool. Ferrothorn's dead. Wonderful. Now, Seismitoad's going to come in now. And Seismitoad is going to outspeed me, of course, because it's slower than me, right? So, Seismitoad outspeeds and goes for Earth Power, and I'm like, alright, this is like an 80% roll to just completely body this thing. Like, I'm almost guaranteed to kill it from here. And of course, what does Close Combat do but min rolls? And this is why that Stone Edge was super important, because if either of my Stone Edges connected, then this game would be a lot easier. If both of them connected, fantastic. I would be in a winning position. Torn would be at like no health. Seismitoad would be dead right here, and I'd have another turn of Trick Room, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I would have one more turn of Trick Room to kill another Pokemon, and it would have been great. And yeah, so instead I have to go into my Shaman as the Trick Room ends this turn, and I get to fire off a Hidden Power, Ice of course, because anything he switched into would have died here. I know I outspeed, and looking at his team here, I'm like, alright, now how do I win? If the Torn was damaged, then Scarf Shaman can just clean up the game. Here in, like, very soon, Coco's in range, Zygarde could die to, like, an HP Ice or double Seed Flare. This thing dies to a Seed Flare. Torn just dies to 2 Seed Flares. If I can get a turn of setup on my Gallade, then that wins as well. And yeah, I only needed Gallade, I only needed Shaman, because Shaman can then Healing Wish up the Gallade, or do something for the Gallade in front of something that can't kill me, and then 4 turns of Trick Room would be enough to kill all 4 members. So my goal was to get 4 turns of Trick Room up. The least expendable person is my Marowak, so that is who I'm going to go to. In comes Omega. Aerial Ace comes in, does 48, and another 27. Down goes the Marowak, doing pretty much nothing this turn, which is why I feel like not going into the Coco with it was kind of a misplay. I kind of threw it away, hoping to get some Trick Room turns, but here we are. I had Healing Wish for it, so I could have been very risky. In comes the Zygarde as I go for a Seed Flare. It does 1,000,000. I know I'm going to be faster than this thing, so I just fire off another Seed Flare. Goodbye, Zygarde. The crit doesn't matter. And next up comes the Tornadus. Here, my plan is, alright, you're going to die, Shaman. Your plan is to die here. You die here. As I bring in Gallade, Gallade clicks Trick Room, hoping for the Torn to miss, or something, him to want to go for a non-flying move to sort of cover, to sort of catch it or something, or double, or I don't even know what he could want to go for here, but the plan was to dodge a Hurricane. That is my only out. That is the only way I win this game, dodging a Hurricane, going for Trick Room, and ending the game. Fantastic, that's the play. I go for a Seed Flare, and I get the Spadef drop. Okay, cool, even better. He misses the Hurricane, and suddenly, new plan. Alright, new plan is kill him with Shaman. He goes into his arrow, Seed Flare fires, kills. Gone. Perfect. Okay, in comes the Torn. The Torn has to come in now. Same plan. Die to the... He has to miss a Hurricane either on this one or on the next one. He either misses a Hurricane on my Shaman or he misses a Hurricane on my Gallade. I'm dealing with a 70% chance. I have a 30% chance to win. Now, here's the problem. I crit him. Now, this crit loses me the game 100%. Instead of having a 30% chance to win, I got a 6.5% chance to just lose. Because now, I don't get this free turn of setup with my Tornado for the Tornadus. Because I bring him down to burn range, and he Hurricane kills my Shaman. If he wasn't in burn range, then I would get my 30% chance. Unfortunately, I don't get that right, so in comes the Tapu Koko, in comes the Gallade. I am Trick Room without Shadow Sneak because I couldn't consistently hold up Trick Room, and so I used another Trick Room to sort of abuse it. And if I had Shadow Sneak anywhere on my set, I would have lucked out a game magically, but unfortunately I don't get that right, and Coco's just gonna gleam me in the face, and that is week 2. So a lot of really unfortunate hacks. The Stone Edge misses really blowed. The Seed Flare crit lost me the game flat out. The min roll on the Seismitoad was also awful. Just nothing really went in my favor this game. And props to Mio. I'm complaining here about getting hacked, but Mio outplayed me throughout the entire mid game. I just felt completely screwed during the early turns. But yeah, shout out to Mio. Continue to watch him. Watch all the Miners people. They're really awesome people, and I will be back with UBC and NPL majors later this week. So, peace.